Good evening and welcome to another edition of Filmnut. I am your host, Jeff Schubert. Glad you can join us. My guest tonight, Kate Levering, is a Tony Award-nominated actress for her role as Peggy Sawyer in the Broadway revival of 42nd Street, for which she did win the Fred Astaire Award for her dancing. Levering can currently be seen on the Lifetime series Drop Dead Diva, in which she plays attorney Kim Kaswell. And in 2010, she'll be starring in a feature film with a great ensemble cast. The film is called Like Dandelion Dust. It'll be coming out sometime in 2010. We look forward to that. And now here she is to talk about that and a little bit of theater is Kate Levering. How are you, Kate?
Good, how are you?
Great, great to have you come in. Really
I'm
appreciate
so
it.
impressive. That intro is so impressive.
Well, you are impressive. You helped me do my job just by being who you are. And I know we rolled, for those of you who may have just came in before the show, we rolled the trailer for Drop Dead Divas, in which you have black hair, right?
No, it's not like black,
Well, not jet
like
black.
Elvira Black.
Not Elvira Black, no, it's not Halloween
It's
black.
kind of a reddy auburn, but yeah, the last two roles, both in the movie and in the television series, I am a brunette. So it feels nice to be back in Southern California and have I feel like me again.
Your natural dreads, there you go.
Yeah, not quite natural,
Right.
but my color of choice.
Your color of choice, there you go. I'm wrong left and right. Halloween black, natural blonde. So for people who may have missed that trailer, what is Drop Dead Diva about, and who do you play, and what is your character about?
This question.
Stumped you on the first one.
Yeah, I'm stumped on the first one. The interview's over. It is a kind of a combination of Heaven Can Wait meets Ugly Betty meets Ally McBeal. Put it all in a blender.
Sure.
And that's our show. That's the short version.
Okay.
Do you want the long version?
Well, the slightly long. So for those of you who haven't seen Heaven Can Wait, we have a situation where in Drop Dead Diva, two people kind of simultaneously die.
Correct.
And the spirit of the diva, the model, goes into the body of this attorney who's a little bit on the overweight side.
Correct.
And she has to now live out her life.
Correct.
Through this different body.
Yeah, the setup of the setup in the pilot is just what you said. There's like a body, two women die at the same time, two very opposite, different types of women die at the same time.
Physically, mentally,
yeah,
everything.
the whole thing. It's kind of a Paris Hilton-esque, vapid, shallow, wannabe spokesmodel. In fact, when she dies, she's on her way to an audition for The Price is Right. And then the attorney, so what happens is they both die at the same time, and the model's soul, she goes to purgatory where she is analyzed, her deeds are analyzed. She's a 0-0, she's done no good deeds but no bad deeds, so they don't know where to send her, heaven or hell. She doesn't have time for this, so she hits the return button, and her soul is rerouted into the last vacated body, which is Jane, this sort of down and out attorney, insecure.
So like the angel who's checking her in, he's got his little computer.
Exactly.
And she hits the return button on that.
Yeah,
And that's what
exactly.
jettes her into Jane's body.
Exactly.
And so now Jane was an attorney in this law office where your character works.
Correct. She tripped over my Hermes handbag and was shot.
Right, there you go.
Which is true.
Wow, okay. I missed the first episode, so I didn't catch that part.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So I'm sort of a part of the reason that she was shot in the first place.
And now you're stealing her boyfriend, but we'll get to that later. So that's how she winds up there. Now she keeps all of her memories as the supermodel.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have the memories of Jane, but she has the knowledge, or she gets flashes of the knowledge.
She has the brains of Jane, the soul and the memory of Deb.
Mm-hmm.
So actually what's really interesting, and I think we just start to get into it in the season finale, there's a big twist, and we're just realizing that we don't know who Jane was before she died. So Jane is figuring out who this person is whose body she now inhabits, which is actually, I didn't even really think about it until we got later into season 1, is that we have no idea who this girl is. She could be anybody.
We get like snippets of it, her relationship with her mom in an episode
Right.
recently.
Last week's episode, Jane's mom just shows up.
Right.
And she's like, who is this woman?
Right. But we can tell a little bit about Jane by how she relates, by her relationships with her mother. And it seems like, as in the new version, she's trying to aspire to do better, you
Yeah.
know, to be closer, like with the mother, to be
Yeah.
more affectionate, to be more.
Well, I think that all of our characters, you know, there are lessons to be learned through Jane.
So let's talk about Kim, the villainess, as you have described her on the website there. Very interesting character, because I see a completely different affect in you, the actor, in this character based on whether you're interacting with Jane or Grayson or your boss. To me, that speaks a lot to your work as an actress, because it's so organic to me, where, you know, because obviously you have feelings for Grayson, yet you work with him, right? So you get angry at him differently than you get angry at Jane.
Right.
So tell me about Kim and how you created her, what was the backstory you gave to her, and so forth.
Well, first of all, thank you. That's a really amazing compliment. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Obviously, you know, that's something that we all want, is to be subtle and have nuances to our performance. So, yeah, I think that the way Kim deals with Jane, especially, you know, I always have to remember that the Jane that Kim is dealing with now is so completely different, because she's not Jane anymore, she's Deb. So this new person is challenging her in a way that she was probably never challenged before at the office. Her relationship with Jane is wildly different than it is with now Jane Deb.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes perfect sense.
So
yeah.
she's being pushed in a way that, you know, Jane was a pushover. And I think Kim probably just walked all over her. So there's this new like sense of, who is this person?
Because Jane as Deb can relate, has a difference, doesn't have maybe the same self-esteem that Jane as Jane had.
Correct.
You know?
In fact, a much higher self-esteem,
Right.
because she still feels like
This supermodel.
Yeah, a supermodel.
So it's interesting, yeah. I mean, I see some of the subtleties I was talking about. And again, just to get a little bit more specific, some actors who might be technically based, they'll get angry the same no matter who they're talking to. In our lives as people, we get angry at our parents differently than we do our boyfriends or girlfriends, than we do our work people, and so forth and so on. So those are the subtle nuances I observe in your work, that you're really this person, that these individual characters are affecting you differently and touching you the way they should, and you're reacting to them in their roles as they are in your life. Does that make sense?
Yes, and again, thank you.
I just wanted that to be clear to the audience.
Yeah, I think, you know, like you know, with a guy I'm dating, of course I get angry differently with him than I would my sister, than I would my boss, than I would my mother, and so those are all, you know, nuances that we try to. It's a fine line.
And now I notice you, and I missed the first few episodes of the show. I'm kind of glad, because it gave me a more objective look at you. And I see like the looks that you shoot Jane once in a while, because she's giving you stuff that surprises you, because she's not the same person
Correct.
anymore.
Yes.
You know, and I see that in you. Well, here's the part where I say I can't be so selfish. Let's get to some instant messages from viewers. Cherry would like to say, one, I absolutely love, with 5 O's, just so you know.
What?
Love Drop Dead Diva. Will there be a second season? Well, lo and behold, take it away.
Yes. What's her name? Sherry?
Sherry, yeah.
Yes, there will be. We just got season 2.
Cherry, I'm sorry.
Cherry, we just got season 2.
It was recently, like, just announced in the last couple of days, right?
No, we've known for a few weeks.
A few weeks? Okay.
Yeah, so it's very exciting.
And what was your reaction? Who told you? Was it your manager? Was it a producer? Was it?
Who told me?
We can get back to that one.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sure it was like the.
Oh, because
I'm sure my managers.
a little party afterwards. You don't
Yeah,
remember?
I have no idea.
No
I
idea.
was completely drunk. No, I'm sure it was my managers.
Okay. Let's see. Dave's would like to ask: is your work week longer or shorter based on how many scenes you are in a given episode? So, for an episode where you are not in as many scenes, are you not on set as much, or are you sitting around the set longer? Hurry up and wait.
Great question. Yeah, definitely, depending on how many scenes you're in. We shoot the show in Georgia. So we are in a little small town called Peachtree City. Hello, anybody in Peachtree City who's watching. The baristas at Starbucks, I know so well. Yeah, so I'm always hoping when I get a script that I'm in the episode a lot, because downtime in a city where you don't live is a little bit different than downtime here in Los Angeles. So usually, depending on the day, on the location, it means a shorter work week. Sometimes it means, like, if you're in the first scene of the day and the last scene of the day, that it's a hurry up and wait kind of situation.
Okay, so
But that's how, that's why we get paid.
sure. So you're right. You're getting paid the same either way, right? Whether
Yeah.
they use you or not. So, but there are some where you might work less days than the cycle for an episode,
Oh yeah.
where they won't make you.
Yeah, depending on how many scenes you're in. Like, if I have a light storyline for that episode, then I may only work 2 days a week, which means a lot of time at the pool
That's
in
right.
Peachtree City.
There you go. And that coffee place, right?
And Starbucks,
And the Starbucks, right. Now, another aspect of your character that I really like is, I guess I want to call it this, like, annoyed sarcasm that you get. Is that
Whatever you're talking about.
Is that a fair way? Okay, there was this one episode where Marla Sokoloff was the guest star, and her fiance cheats on her with the maid of honor on the day of their wedding. Was it at the church? I mean, it was like the worst possible scenario.
Yeah.
So the guy comes to you to say he's sorry, he wants to communicate with his fiance, and she won't return his calls or whatever, and he says, I know I messed up. And you say something like, messed up is telling her that her ass looks too fat in a dress. It's not like,
I know.
And
then I think the follow-up line is, you banged the maid of honor on the wedding day.
Right, or before the I do's
Yeah,
or something.
before the I do's, yeah. You know the script better than I do.
So you have like so many, another one is like, this one character refers to lawyers as like superheroes, and you're like, well, Wonder Woman has to get back to work now, or something like that.
These are all, I love my one-liners. I think our writers do a great job, especially with me, and I imagine that the writer's room, it's really fun to like come up with these bitchy one-liners for my character, and it's just like, it's like a little piece of candy. Every time I get to say it, it's just fun. Who talks like that?
So you enjoy it.
I do.
Now, Kim,
nice.
it's kind of like, is it fair to say Kim is power hungry?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's interesting because that, brings up why she is that way, and especially in the Marla Sokolov episode, I think her sarcasm and her, what did you say? Her annoyed sarcasm?
The annoyed kind of anger, because you're impatient. You want to get to the cut to the chase.
Yeah, but I think also, she has men issues, and one of the lines in that episode is, and it's definitely parallels what's happening with Grayson.
Yes.
Is that she says a man has one chance and one chance only to show you who he is, or to prove to you who he is. And I think that really speaks to who she is and hints of what has happened in her past.
Yes, yes.
And that's what's happening in that episode is Kim keeps trying to talk to Grayson about the kiss. And he won't talk to her about it. And he won't, he won't address it. And so she kind of shows her vulnerability a couple of times, and then after he blows her off, she's like, I'm done. Over, brick wall, guards up.
Toe dipped in the pool, didn't go as I wanted, boom,
Yeah.
wall back up.
Yeah.
So now we talked a little bit about her, she wants to be a partner in the company someday, man issues. Did you create your own backstory for this character? What were you told? What did you create? And did you collaborate with the producers? How did that go?
I thought a lot before before we started filming. I thought a lot about her backstory, and I had this whole, thing in my mind. And I wrote the writer-creator, Josh Berman, an email with, my whole, pitch. And he basically called me and he's like, no. And of course he had something much better and much more interesting than my story, which is why I'm the actor who does what I'm told, and he's the producer, creator, writer of a hit television show.
Was there one thing that you put in that you can say that he didn't like, that you...
Well, I had her just coming from a totally different world. I actually live in Newport Beach, and so I'm surrounded by, I'm surrounded by, at times a certain type of person or women. No, exactly. And so I had her kind of coming from this like elite world and this, totally different place, whereas he has her coming from a place of she grew up with nothing, and it's part of why, and she's really shameful of that, and she has a lot to hide. She doesn't want anybody to know that she came from this really kind of low place in life, and that to me is so much more interesting than like you're the bitchy little beach bunny from Laguna or whatever. You're like from the hills.
Right. Yeah, I got to agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree
exactly.
with him. Yeah, that works really well.
Which is why I'm an actor and he's, you know, who he is.
Let's see. Bottom would like to ask the obvious question. Let's see if this is obvious to you. If you woke up tomorrow in the body of another famous person, who would it be?
Lord.
Have you been asked that one before?
I have.
You have?
I have.
Okay.
I've been asked also if I were reincarnated, who would I, you know,
Right.
come back as, and that's super easy because that's my dog. My dog like lives the best life ever, and he comes to set every day, and he has a swimming pool next to my trailer, and he flies, you know, with me in the plane. So I haven't thought about a person. You have to ask me again.
Okay. No one comes
Let me
to
think
mind?
about it for a
Okay,
second.
Okay, fair enough. Pies would like to ask,
Pies.
what do you think about Hollywood catching up with everyday people who are not a size 0 and portraying them in a positive way?
Pies, that's so hard to take you seriously because your name is Pies. No, but that's a great question. And I think that that's part of the beauty of our show is that we're creating a dialogue, whether it's our court cases that deal with women's issues, you know, eating disorders or weight discrimination, which is all over our show and all over, you know, this industry and, you know, life, or sexual harassment, you know. And I think that that's one of the, you know, nobody's really doing that right now. They're a little bit in Ugly Betty, and I love that. I think that's the first step in solving problems and healing. And, you know, we get letters that say mothers are talking to their daughters for the first times about these things, and sisters and girlfriends. And so I think it's, I'm really happy about it.
I think it's
I struggle with it in Hollywood, you know? It's like this sick, warped sense of the way people should look and how they, you know, how the world views you.
Do you feel extra pressure on that because you're an actress?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, I have my struggles. My weight fluctuates. You know, I have my own issues with it, and it's definitely harder. Not harder, but it's different when you're on television, and you know, you have a different kind of pressure than real life.
Well, you know, the great question, by the way, and you hit on it in your answer, the different types of cases that you guys do on your show versus maybe other legal shows.
Yeah.
I think you tackle them in a way that's creative, new and different. It's fun. I mean, this is a dramedy. Every episode I've watched makes me laugh and also makes me think. And, you know, sometimes, you know, get a little emotional. I'll admit it, I know I'm a guy, but, you know.
You're a dude. You're not even our key demographic.
That's right.
So the women must be, like, weeping into their hankies.
Right, because obviously there's no pressure on me with, you know, the pressure on me is to gain weight, now, you know, not to, not the other way around. So is it more fun for you when you, as an actress, are advocating points of view that you agree with? Like, you're playing this character in the show, as compared to, like, maybe hard when you have to do scenes where you're saying stuff that you don't believe in personally?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, you know, like anything in life, if you believe in something, it's, you know, it's just much easier. You know, if you believe in something, then you speak to it in a way that is truth and
kind of a natural passion to it.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas then, you know, you have some scenes with Jane where you're the one kind of, for the purposes of the show, being the villain, hammering away at some of those negative stereotypes. But, you know, someone has to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I've been lucky because a lot of my court cases are really fun. I have, like, the dog cloning court case, or the
psychics, right?
Yeah, the sister psychics, or the, you know, the business owner whose chocolate bar has been defamed because somebody discovered it had insect particles in it. You know, it's like this, which I think is really fun because I'm actually not a huge fan of law shows because of the courtroom stuff. I just lose interest, but not on my show.
That's right.
Dog cloning keeps my interest.
Dog cloning keeps her interest. Topically relevant. Boy would like to ask, do you see yourself returning to Broadway? So I mentioned in the intro, you are a winner of the Fred Astaire Award for Dancing, Tony nominated. And we know in LA, an actor or an actress does something once, they put it on their resume under special skills, but you are like a real dancer, Fred Astaire winner.
I am. I would love to go back to Broadway. I am dying to go back. I don't know how my body will handle it because I moved to New York when I was 18 and really just kind of, my body took a beating for sure.
You can go back to Broadway and not dance, right?
I could, yeah.
Right.
Then I would have to be a serious actress. I don't know if that's fun. No, it is.
Well, tell them what Jeff said about your acting in the Filmnut interview, and
exactly.
and they'll cast you.
Exactly. No, I would love to go back to Broadway. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we have we're hoping to do something very soon, so I hope that happens.
Well, if you can go back to Broadway, is there any play in particular that you would like to, or a role you'd like to play? Or would you do something new and original? Or
I would do something new and original for sure. The problem is that, now that the show's coming back, I have a limited window of time, but I would love to jump into Chicago. That's, either one of those roles or roles that was actually my first show at 18 years old. I did the national tour of Chicago right when it was, the big, it was like the splash, the new thing on Broadway. And so, I would love to do either one of those roles.
All right, we will see you in Chicago sometime. I can feel this.
The show Chicago.
The show Chicago, right. That's right. Well, seeing you in Chicago, that would be a big deal, right?
Well, we may see each other in Chicago, but we'll just wave.
That's right. Website guy would like to ask, how did you prepare to play a lawyer, and can you see yourself ever being one? Well, I know you have a background in legal acting from Kevin Hill, right?
That's true, actually. No, I could never see myself ever being a lawyer. I think that it's a lot more tedious in real life than it is, playing one on television. I don't know if you get the dog cloning cases
right.
in real life. But the last television series I did was also a law show. It's called Kevin Hill. So I had a lot of practice, in courtroom dramas, doing that. And then also recently spent a lot of time, before I knew the television show was picked up, I had family members who were involved in a court case, and I spent about a month every day in a courtroom. So that was really good research for me.
Now, it's by chance. Normally, though, do you like to do research for a role? Would you?
Yeah, definitely. And this just worked out that it was kind of perfect. They're supporting the family and doing research at the same time.
Now, interesting, we were talking before we came on, two of the main projects we're going to be talking about tonight, Drop Dead Diva and also your film. Interesting ways in which you came upon these roles.
It's true. Yeah. It's very true. I jumped in at the last minute for both. It just so happened that I'm the last minute girl. I'm like the save the day girl, which feels nice because then you show up and everybody's like excited that you're there and they're like, oh, thank God you're here. We had no idea what was going to happen.
Right.
So that actually is really nice. But the film in particular, they lost the leading actress, and so I had about 36 hours to prepare for that role. I got on a plane and scoured over the script, and luckily Cole Hauser, who plays my husband in the film, and I were really good friends. We had worked together before, and that was really challenging.
Just to pick it up like that?
Very rewarding. Yeah, because it was such an emotionally heavy script and role. So it was interesting.
So for the audience then, what's Like Dandelion about? Like Dandelion Dust?
Like Dandelion Dust is, it's about families, and it's about a boy who is stuck in a very adult world, an adult situation. And ultimately, I play the adoptive mother. Cole and I play the adoptive parents of this boy. And Mira Sorvino and Barry Pepper play the biological parents. And there is a loophole in the adoption. And 7 years after we've adopted him, they come back to try to take him away from us.
Yeah, because Mira Sorvino, that couple, the other couple, they're kind of like low rent.
Yeah, very down and out.
Very down and out, and the husband comes out of prison.
Yeah, he's been in jail for domestic violence and, you know.
Didn't even know he had a kid.
Yeah.
Mira signed the abortion papers without him, so the technicality is that he didn't sign it.
Correct.
So
there was a forgery.
So who's going to get to keep the kid?
Yeah.
Now, as I was saying to you before we came on, and I mean fully, I mean it's a very well written script. It's great, but I think what keeps it from being like a movie of the week versus a feature that you guys should all go out and see is the incredible performances by everyone in the cast.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a deep. I mean, it's a great piece. Wonderful performance.
Thank you.
Now, so 36 hours. So you were talking about that, but also there's like this really big emotional scene at the end of the movie that we definitely will not give away. But that's a good story. How you had to work and prepare for that.
Yeah, Mira Sorvino and I only have one scene together in the whole movie because it's really shot as these two kind of separate films, and then they intersect, and it was shot that way as well. They shot all of Mira and Barry's stuff, you know, first, and then they shot, they shot a few scenes in the middle, but then they shot all of our stuff, and then we kind of all intersected at the end. And that last scene with Mira, the director, John Gunn, who's incredible, I hope he's watching. John, are you out there? He kept us apart. We had never met, and he didn't want us to meet in hair and makeup. And so literally the first time my first feature film, the first time I ever saw basically Mira Sorvino is when she walks into the room, and it's these two mothers meeting for the first time, the biological and the adoptive mother. And as people, it was me meeting Mira Sorvino, this Oscar-winning actress for the first time. Right. And so a lot of what I needed to get me through the scene was just already there.
Right.
Because of the way he, you know, arranged the day, really.
Well, the ironic thing is I had a conversation with Mira, and she was like, I was working with this Fred Astaire winning actress.
Right. I wish. She's a dancer too.
There you go. Very nice. And then, of course, you were working with the child. And another great thing about this movie is it didn't set up like a cliche where like it's obvious who you're rooting for and who you're not rooting for. All good people, all wanting the best interest of the child, and then watching how it's going to play out. And I think that added to the suspense, because you didn't know who you were rooting for.
Right.
You know, because they all love the kid.
Yeah, and there are no winners, and I think that that's also a testament to John playing against stereotypes, because it would be so easy to just say, oh, he's an alcoholic and he's an abuser and he, you know, the kid shouldn't go to this family, but it's really, it doesn't come off that way.
No.
I mean, the audience really, it's heart-wrenching to try to negotiate who this kid should be with.
Yes, because he's trying to reform himself as soon as he's out of prison and do the right thing and do right by his wife and his kid.
Yeah.
Let's see. In this film, you play the mother of the boy who is traumatized. How could you look at yourself at the end of the day after making that little boy cry? John Gunn. Apparently he is watching.
You are out there. You are. That's a really mean question, by the way. I'm not the one who made him cry. John Gunn is. How could I look at myself at the end of the day? That's cruel.
I just see on the top here, Jeff, read username after, and then like reading this question, I'm like, this is kind of a cruel question, you know? Oh, okay, John, how you doing? Thanks for watching, by the way.
I just called you a genius, so you should not have written that mean question.
That's right.
You're not a genius anymore.
But you were telling me the kid was fantastic, right?
He's so good. He's like a little pro. Like we would do these like really emotional scenes where we're both sobbing, and the little boy is in hysterics, and I'm thinking, good Lord, this child is going to need so much therapy after this film, like this poor thing. And afterward, I would need comfort. I would want to like go to him and say, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And he'd just like look at me and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go play baseball with my brother." Okay. What about me?
And that was,
what about what I need?
That was Maxwell Cotton played that
Maxwell Perry Cotton.
Perry Cotton, very good. Didn't know the Perry.
He's on a little show called Brothers and Sisters.
Oh, very nice.
He's from a showbiz fam. His brother Mason is on Desperate Housewives.
Oh, great.
So yeah.
Well, while we got John's attention, why don't we talk about him, make fun of him a little bit, see if we can
Let's do it.
give you an opportunity to get back to him.
Let's do it, John Gunn.
Let's see. No, one of the things Carrie David said, producer on the film, when she was on Filmnut, was she talked.
She's sweet and a much better producer than John Gunn.
There you go.
Much easier to work with.
You opened up. She's going to open up a can of whoop ass on you now. Let's see. She mentioned that John liked to do a lot of improv with you guys.
Yeah.
Do you recall that? Any scenes in particular?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I was always really terrified of improv. It's a very vulnerable kind of make yourself look like an ass place to be in. And so I was really nervous about it, and I hadn't really done it very much before, shied away from it. But you know, it helped so much in like creating the underbelly of the scene. And sometimes we would improv before a scene and not improv during the scene. We would improv like what happened right before the scene started. But in particular, I think working with a young child, Max was 7 when we shot this. You know, anytime you give them something scripted to say, it kind of comes out in this very scripted, I am a child actor kind of way. And Max is much better than that. He's not what I did. But it helped. It's horrible. I am a child actor. Like a weird robot kid. He was not like that. But it helps because, you know, we could almost like improv him into the scene and get him to say his lines in a more organic, natural way. And John, even though I really dislike him right now, he had a great way of sneaking the camera in almost. He would tail slate a lot so that it wasn't this big production, you know, to start the scene. And we didn't all feel this pressure, so we could kind of improv our way into a scene.
He wasn't standing next to you with a bullhorn yelling action. You know?
Yeah, and then he would kind of sneak the camera in, which, you know, when you see the movie, it's this very raw, you know, cool, it's shot in a really cool way.
Well, I really like the idea of, okay, so let's say you want to stick to the script, the written word, but even just improving as a way of warming up the muscles and getting into it. That sounds
We did a lot of warm-up improv, especially getting into the really emotional work.
Great. Tail slate is when you shoot right away and clap the slate at the end for speed.
Tail slate is when you shoot.
You getting that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes, and it's John Gunn again.
And it's, okay, very good.
Right?
Yes, it is John Gunn again.
John, shut up. This is my interview.
That was me, guys. There's some people in the chat room going, "What is tail slate?" And so we like to explain what those things are.
I thought it was John Gunn. I was going to be like, "Get out of my life. Get out of my world."
Unless there's a sequel, and then call me all you want. Now, one last question I want to ask you about improv. Now that you've worked your way through it, do you feel like improv helps actors form like chemistry?
Yeah, I definitely.
Because again, you're that much more dependent on listening because you have no idea what's coming.
Yeah.
So when you're doing improv right, you're right in there with the person.
And you're just reacting.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's get to a non-John Gunn related instant message. Bottom would like to ask, you are trained as a dancer and have been nominated for a Tony for 42nd Street for it, but the roles you've taken don't require any dancing. Do you still dance? And do you consider yourself more of an actress or a dancer?
Oh, it's so funny.
So free associate. Kate Levering, are you a dancer or an actor?
Dancer.
There you go.
But I feel like that's a trap because then you know, it's and you know, in New York, it's like, are you a singer or are you a dancer? And I would be like, dancer. I'm a dancer.
I thought you were attacking.
You know, but I think that that's a trap. So now it's, you know, I hope that now I can say I'm an actor. I hope other people can say that too.
You definitely can, and I think
even though I haven't danced in like a while.
I think the answer is you're an artist. And
Thanks.
that encompasses right, the dance and acting. So you haven't danced in a while. Would you actively seek it, or is this the sort of thing where if it comes up, it's something you do and it will give you a better chance of getting a part, or will you actively seek it?
Like continue to train?
Or just roles that involve dancing?
Yeah, I definitely would. You know, it's hard because in television and film, when does that opportunity really come up? I mean, luckily, 2 of the producers of Drop Dead Diva, Neil Marin and Craig Zadan, they're doing all these they brought the movie musical back. I mean, they did Chicago and Hairspray. They're doing the baseball one. Anyway, they're doing Footloose. You know, they're really kind of bringing it back, and but there's not very many opportunities in television and film to dance.
Well, I just had an idea right off the top of my head. Now we know Drop Dead Diva was picked up for a second season, and in a recent episode they did like a dream sequence thing with Paula Abdul, right?
Yep.
I think there should be another dream sequence thing where you're like just tap dancing your little heart out.
I think it may happen.
It really?
I think that there is a possibility that there could be another dream sequence where I dance with Paula Abdul.
Very cool.
I'm putting it out there.
You're putting it out there. So let's see. Okay, Chicago. Well, you don't want to put out too much. You
Right.
know? Chicago and a dance thing. Well, let's try. We'll have to take
well,
one off the
that's part of the
table.
TV series. So.
Right. There you go. Part of the TV series. El Nan would like to ask, what do you like to do in your free time?
What do I like to do in my free time? I spend a lot of time in Sacramento with my family and niece and nephew. And I'm around with my dog a lot. I live in, like I said, I live in Newport Beach, so there's a lot of like outdoor activities.
So from Sacramento, why did you make the decision to go to New York and do Broadway first as compared to staying in California and maybe pursuing film and television?
That was just kind of it was the natural progression, like next step for me. I was working at a professional theater in Sacramento where I grew up all through junior high and high school, and singing and dancing, and really acting in television and film wasn't even on my radar. I was just a musical theater girl, and most of my best friends went to college to major in theater, and college was not really my path. I kind of like this school of hard knocks girl, and so I just moved to New York at 18. It was the natural to audition for Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, specifically.
So college not your thing, law school definitely out, right?
Yeah, no.
So then what brought you back to LA then? You were in New York, very successful.
I was in New York for 8 years, did six Broadway shows in that time. And then I was in Toronto shooting Kevin Hill. We shot that in Canada. And when that series was canceled, again, it was natural next step was to come to LA. The true answer is I kind of came here chasing a guy.
Oh, okay. Gets back to that again, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Man issues, let's not go there.
So how much do Kim and Kate have in common?
They both need therapy.
They both need therapy. But Molly is such a different character.
Yeah.
You know, that's the name of your character in like Dandelion.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't recognize. You don't see any of
Yeah.
Kim.
Well, it's interesting because I think in the book, like Dandelion Dust is based on a best-selling novel by Karen Kingsbury. And I think in the book, Molly is actually an ex-actor. I'm pretty sure. John Gunn will probably write in and be like, no, you're wrong.
That's right.
So there are, some similarities in the fact that she kind of lives this more elite life. She and Kim are kind of care about the same things in a way. And I think when Molly feels like she's losing Joey, the son, it definitely causes issues in her relationship, in her marriage. When something falls apart like that, how can it not?
Right, she wants your husband to do everything.
Yeah, there's that crazy scene.
Yeah.
But in most other ways, they're very different.
Right. Let's see. Well, you were right. She wasn't an actor in the book. We created that for the script, says John Gunn.
Really?
Yeah, really. It's like that.
Get out of my world.
Sprite would like to ask, do you think you have any shot at ending up with Grayson, or do you think it's inevitable that he ends up with Jane since she is the quote-unquote hero of the show? So Grayson is another lawyer who works in the law firm with you and Jane. Right now he is your love interest, and him and Deb were together before Deb died and soul went into Jane's body.
Correct. I know, it's very confusing.
That's right. Did I get it right? Yeah.
You did get it right,
good.
yeah. Grayson is Grayson is Deb, so spokesmodel, Dead Deb,
Right.
her fiance, and Grayson comes to work at our law office. So Jane Deb,
Right.
Jane Dead Deb, is forced to work with her fiance, and while he's grieving and healing, he kind of, I wouldn't say falls for Kim, because I think that that's yet to come. So they're kind of trying to get together. And will they end up together? I don't know. Obviously, it's a TV show, so I'm sure that keeping the tension between Grayson and Jane is really important. If they got back together, there wouldn't be a TV show, I don't think.
Right. Yeah. Those things, if they happen at the very end.
Exactly.
It will get strung out.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting.
There'll be a good love triangle for a while, though.
And it'll be interesting to see, what the fans want.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that'll have some influence.
Yeah, I would think.
Let's see. Weber. Kate has a very soothing voice.
Ooh, really?
That's more of a sex operator voice.
Exactly.
You went from soothing
Thank you.
to.
I'm glad it's not like an annoying voice or anything.
Sane. In TV, supposedly the creative vision is with their producers. In film, the director, who runs the show creatively in theater.
The director.
The director?
Yeah, director, choreographer. Yeah.
Now, how would you compare working in theater acting versus film? Do you like one better than the other, or are they just different?
Now I like them much differently. I like them both, but much differently. When I first started doing television and film, it was a very disjointed, sort of jerky process for me because you're all over the place. Like one day you're shooting the end of the episode, the next day you're in the middle, the next day you're somewhere else, and there's not this sense of completion like there is in theater. In theater, every night you start at the beginning, there's a beginning, a middle, and end. You go on this kind of emotional journey, and it all is kind of wrapped up with a nice little bow at the end of the night. So you feel like you've done something, a sense of fulfillment. And in television and film, a lot of times it's just so like all over the place that at the end I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I just did. Did I just do anything? Like,
Right.
Did I just do anything good? And then the satisfaction comes in seeing the finished product.
Yeah, I would say for non-actors, doing theater is like driving on the Autobahn, where you can really open it up and let it rip.
Yeah.
And doing film or TV is like driving in traffic in New York.
Yeah.
Start and stop.
Yeah.
It's like you rev it if the scene calls for it emotionally, but then there's like a cut, or 3 lines later to change the camera direction.
Yeah, it can be very, very abrupt. The process is you have to learn. It's a different kind of you really have to create the momentum within yourself. Because or else you just it's exhausting. Whereas theater, you get on the ride and the ride takes you. So it's very different.
Now, anything we can expect coming up towards the end? Any spoilers you're allowed to give away, or
in Drop Dead Diva?
Drop Dead Diva.
Let's see, where are we? I think we're at 10. I think we have 2 episodes left.
Didn't 11 just air?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we have 2 more. You could be right.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
I might not be counting.
the episode where Jane meets her mother, I think,
Right.
was the one that just aired.
I think there's
2 more?
2 more,
Okay.
I think. There's a huge twist. Big bomb dropped in the finale.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you probably don't have any idea about season 2 because they just picked it up, so no idea where that's going to go.
No.
Now, that day you were talking about where you work with Mira Sorvino, would you call that your most challenging day on Dandelion, or was there another day for you that was particularly challenging?
The first day I showed up was challenging because, again, I was taking over, and felt a certain amount of pressure. I didn't want to let anybody down. I didn't want to show up and have everybody, or anybody think what the hell is she doing here? Why did they get her?
Right.
What was Cole Hauser thinking? Right. So that was really challenging. And the emotional stuff with the boy and with Mira Sorvino was really, really hard days, but so much learning, just acting with her for 13 hours. I mean, doesn't get much better than that.
William B., I believe our last I Am for the night, would like to ask you, actually William wants to ask me to ask you about your trip to India and your discovery of working with challenging conditions of poverty and illiteracy in the world, acting as a diplomat and goodwill spokesperson.
Wow. William B., I think I know who you are. I went to, last December, I went to India and volunteered for a month and a half, just kind of stripped down to the bare minimum, not clothing-wise,
Right.
but just, stripped everything away, and I'd never traveled in that way before. So, showered out of a bucket every day for a month and went and taught the sons and daughters of the local fishermen in Goa, India, and just had, an amazing, life-changing experience.
You taught
there.
them survival skills?
No, just taught them. They taught me more than I taught them. But we were just. It was like a non-government sort of. They would come. They would walk up over the sand dune every day. The school was right on the sand. We just taught like preschool.
Oh, okay.
Colors, numbers, songs. And we had kids that were anywhere from 1 to like 6 years old. So.
And you did this for the experience or for?
Yeah, I just wanted to go
help.
and do something totally different and do hands-on work as opposed to just like attending a charity event. Really like roll your sleeves up and get in there.
Well, yes, you can, Kate Levering. So last question for you, we like to get people out here on this one is, do you have a favorite set term speak? Like back to
I
one?
like a couple.
Okay.
I like rolling, quiet please.
Okay.
I like that, but my favorite is cut, print, check.
Because you're done.
Yeah.
Right?
That means you got your shot, you're moving on.
Well, Drop Dead Diva is on Sunday nights, I believe, 9 p.m. Eastern.
On Lifetime.
On Lifetime.
Yeah.
And also, you can watch the last 4 episodes on the Lifetime website, I think
Yeah.
mylifetime.com.
Mylifetime.com.
They usually have 3 or 4 episodes up on there. And like Dandelion Dust, I know there's a website for that.
I think you can just Google like Dandelion Dust, but I think it's blogs, there's something with Blogspot.
Okay, yeah, just Google that, and we're hoping it comes out in March, I believe.
I believe so, I hope so.
And we're hoping that I don't see you in Chicago, the city, but in Chicago, the play, at some point soon.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been a delight
Thank you
talking
for
to you.
having me, thank you.
Real pleasure. That is going to do it for this edition of Filmnut. Look forward to seeing you next time on Filmnut 100. Wow.
It's your 100th episode.